Hey there people, so today I'm bringing you my Terraria crafting station and layout guide. I'll be covering all crafting stations in the game as well as how to optimize their placement, and I'll be explaining all the different types of crafting stations. This will cover all platforms, PC, console, and mobile, 1.3 and onward as well as 1.2.4. I will explain where there are differences. This guide will be in 4 sections. First, I will talk about the crafting layout or setup, and then I will talk about general pre-hard mode crafting. I will then talk about hard mode general crafting, and lastly I'll talk about building and furniture specific crafting stations. I will include timestamps in the description for each of those sections so you can skip to what's relevant for you. So first let's talk about general layout. It is possible to maximize an area to be able to craft as many things as possible from a single spot. Generally you're going to want the chests above you because crafting stations above your head level will not be accessible. However, up to 3 blocks down below your foot level, including the platform you're standing on, can be accessed. So it's not possible to craft absolutely everything in the game from a single spot, but you can fit most important things near you, the most important things that you're regularly going to want to use. According to my tests, you can use crafting stations up to 3 blocks away on either side. And you can also access crafting stations, as I say, below foot level, up to 2 blocks below your foot level. However, you cannot, again, access crafting stations that are above your head level. You can, on the other hand, access chests from 4 blocks away on either side, and the top of the crafting station can be up to 3 blocks below your foot level, including the platform you're standing on. And you can actually access chests that are above head level up to 3 blocks above your head level. So that affects the way you're going to lay things out. And of course, this is on PC. I'm guessing, assuming that this applies equally to other platforms, but I haven't tested that specifically there. However, the layouts that I've looked at that were recommended by other people seem to follow those rules as well. So mainly, you will need easy access to your ingredients, as in chests, and you will need the major crafting stations, your workbench, your anvil, your furnace or forge, your sawmill, your loom. You'll want some access to some water potentially, and also potion crafting as well. Then you're maybe looking at, if you have enough space, maybe a cooking pot, maybe a tinkerer's workshop, maybe an ancient manipulator if you're near the end of the game on an updated platform. And also for melee users, you might want an imbuing station. For magic users, you might want a bookcase. So let's take a look at a little example that I've set up. If you want to maximize the number of crafting stations accessible from a single spot, you will need to have the top of any of those extra stations close enough below you, and again the chests if needed above you, because you can access chests above you but not crafting stations above your head. So I came up with this. This is just my personal little design. And how this works is that from this single spot standing on this workbench, I can access all of these chests. I have my piggy bank on top of the workbench. I can craft potions. I can access my workbench, anvil. In this case, it's a forge. The furnace is the same size. I've got a cooking pot here and a loom, and I've got a sawmill and a tinkerer's workshop, as well as a bottle placed on the tinkerer's workshop. I'm going to get into a couple details about this. And updated platforms only, ancient manipulator towards the end of the game, and there's an alchemy station, which is just better for crafting potions. So you can kind of use this design and maybe modify it as necessary for the platform you're playing on and other things. One thing about this, I actually can't access this tinkerer's workshop from where I'm standing because it's 1, 2, 3, the top of it is a 4th block down. But that's not a big problem. I can access the placed bottle to craft potions, which you can do if you're on a non-updated platform. That'll be good for you. On here, I don't actually need that because I have an alchemy station, so I can actually take that out and still craft potions, but it'll work either way. Alchemy Station, I'll get to the details of why that's a little bit better later, but you can also modify this if you're a Magic player and you're either not on an updated platform or you're not near the end of the game. You could potentially put a bookcase here. You just need to drop the floor down because the bookcase is taller, or if you have something that's shorter, you can move the floor up And you can replace these things as you want. Maybe you want your safe, you could put that in place of this cooking pot, or you could put it in place of one of the chests. But you can see, oh, actually, yeah, I can't actually, oh, yeah, that's interesting. It didn't seem to want to work at first, but yes, I can access all of these chests from where I'm standing, which is pretty awesome. I could also potentially substitute crafting stations in this lower row of chests if they're not too tall to kick out the chests above them, or if I'm willing to take out those. So, you know, I could potentially take out some of these and put a bookcase up there as well. So this is just my personal design. It's one example, but I've got more or less everything that I should need in most cases here. And if I want to use my Tinker's Workbench, I can just drop down from the workbench here, and then I can access that. So I'll show you. I've got a bunch of random stuff in my inventory just to be able to show you that, yes, I can access my Ancient Manipulator. That's all this stuff towards the end. I can access my Alchemy Station. That's all the potions here. I can access my Forge to make bars. I've just got some iron. And I can access my Loom to make silk. That's in here somewhere. There it is, silk and string as well. And of course, I can access the ones that are closer to me than that. I can access my sawmill to make some furniture and so on. So that's one example. It's not the only way you can do this. There's not one single way to do this. I even fit a torch in to keep it lit. I just happened to put these just because of where I located. I put some campfires. But this whole thing is actually just 12 blocks wide and 13 blocks tall with all these chests and all these crafting stations. So that's certainly, I think, pretty well optimized, and that's what I went with personally. So this is just an example, though. As I say, I will include a wiki link showing some other optimized layouts in the description of the video. Personally, in general, I don't bother with this. I mean, you could you can pack it in a little tighter and just have a little less stuff. You can make it bigger, and, you know, personally, though, I don't usually bother going to this kind of effort. I usually just try to keep the workbench, the furnace or the forge, and the anvil close together, because you're going to use those kind of in combination a lot. And I usually just put my potion crafting station, whether it's a bottle on a flat surface or an alchemy station, I put that usually somewhere else with a chest nearby with the ingredients that I need for that. That's my approach personally. But you can do this, and this is one way of laying it all out. And again, one of the reasons that you'll see in a lot of my playthroughs, I have just a flat row with the crafting stations I most commonly need, and I sometimes put the chests below me because they're easily accessible. And as some of you know, I like to put my NPCs in little prisons where they're easily accessible. So what I've been doing lately is just a row with the crafting stations, chests below that, and my NPCs in their little prisons above me so that I can access them easily. That's, you know, sort of an alternative approach, which is what I often do. But anyway, let's move on. Pre-Hardmode crafting station. So first of all, the first crafting station that you have is the ability to craft things by hand. Some items you can craft without actually being near a crafting station, like torches. So that's just something to talk about quickly. Also, a campfire does technically count as a crafting station because you can hold a marshmallow on a stick near a campfire to turn it into a cooked marshmallow. The marshmallow itself is bought from the merchant if his house is in a snow biome, and if you cook that, it turns into food. And also, you know, basic crafting stations early in the game. Obviously, a workbench. I've actually put some of these in my house. This is kind of almost returning it to what it was like at the beginning of my game. Basic workbench is used to craft many of the things that are not made out of metal, particularly early gear from wood and cactus, some furniture, background walls, and other building materials. The workbench is crafted from 10 wood or other types of wood or other blocks, 10 blocks or wood or material. There are many different kinds of workbenches, actually. They just all do the same thing. They look different. And most of those are crafted by hand, don't require another crafting station, or are sometimes crafted at one of the special ones for furniture that I'll get to later. Workbench and chair, actually. If you have a chair near your workbench, you can use that to craft goggles and sunglasses. You need to have those two things together to do that. Then moving on to your furnace or your Hellforge. I've got a furnace here that can smelt ores into bars. It can also be used to make bricks, glass, and some glass items. Eventually you can get a Hellforge. Various special brick types can also be made by combining materials with stone at either of these. A regular furnace is crafted from 20 stone blocks, 4 of any wood, and 3 torches. A Hellforge is found in the underworld once you make it down there, and adds the ability to craft hellstone bars by using hellstone and obsidian. And that's the only advantage of a Hellforge. Otherwise, it does all the same things. It just allows you to make hellstone bars as well. Water and honey. Technically sort of a crafting station, because if you're near water or honey, you can bottle them with an empty bottle. And water, you can also craft mud from dirt if you're near water. It is possible to craft mud from dirt. And bottled water is used for many potions, flasks, and other things. Bottled honey works more like a health potion. So that's useful to know. Now, a placed bottle or an alchemy station. So you can actually just place a bottle on whether it's a table or a workbench or actually various other surfaces, mostly flat surface furniture. You can actually stick it on a platform as well, I believe. And yeah, Tinkerer's Workshop, which is what I showed you earlier, several others will work. Or you can actually use an existing potion. If you're in the dungeon particularly, you'll find potions just sitting on platforms there, and you can actually use that for potion crafting, and that's what these are all about. A placed bottle becomes a potion crafting station, and you can use one of those that already is placed if it's a potion that's just sitting there, or you can place an empty bottle. The alchemy station is over here. Bottom left here is available on the updated platforms only, and the advantage is all of these are used to craft potions. The alchemy station gives a 1/3 chance not to consume the ingredients for your potion. Has no other special benefits, however. The alchemy station can be found randomly in the dungeon on the updated platforms. Otherwise, you can just make a potion crafting station by putting an empty bottle, which you can create from glass at your furnace. Create the glass at the furnace from sand, and then the bottle from the glass, and you just stick it on a flat surface, and there's where you can make your potions. So another one very early in the game that you're going to need is your iron or lead anvil. You'll notice this is the gray anvil, and your iron or lead anvil is used to craft gear and items from metal bars, gems, some jungle materials, and so on. It's generally more advanced pre-hard mode and early hard mode equipment and items compared to the workbench, such as armor and swords. These anvils are crafted from 5 iron or lead bars at the workbench. And there's also your cooking pot. Your cooking pot is used to turn various food-like materials into food, such as fish. You can turn into cooked fish, and you can make soup there. Also cooked shrimp. The cooking pot is crafted from 10 iron or lead bars, plus 2 of any type of wood at the anvil. So you'll need your anvil first. Cauldron works the same. It only looks different. The cauldron is bought from the witch doctor during Halloween. Okay, so continuing on, much like the workbench and chair, the table and chair is actually also a crafting station. It's used only to craft watches, which are made from 10 bars. There are several types of bars you can use to make several different types of watches, 10 bars and 1 chain. You cannot craft watches on 3DS, but on old gen consoles you can also craft a depth meter at the table and chair as well. Literally, it's just a regular table and a regular chair placed next to each other in close enough proximity, similar to the workbench and chair, and that's considered a crafting station as well. Now, the dye vat, speaking of things not available on 3DS, the dye vat is used to craft and mix dyes as well as to mix paint. The dye vat is purchased from the dye trader, who likewise doesn't exist on 3DS. But on all other platforms, you can get the dye vat from the dye trader and make your dyes, and also mix dyes and paints. Now the Extractinator is this thing, not really technically exactly a crafting station, but it's used to extract items from silt, slush, and fossils. Desert fossils, that is. It can yield coins, ores, gems, amber, the amber mosquito item, which is a pet summoning item, and also from desert fossils, you can get sturdy fossils. The Extractinator is found in cabins in the underground desert, also in some gold or ice chests, and in wooden crates it is sometimes found as well. Now the Sawmill I had mentioned earlier. Sawmill is this thing with the blade. Second from the left on the bottom there. The Sawmill is used for crafting more advanced furniture, including beds and a lot of other things. It's crafted from 10 of any wood, 2 iron or lead bars, and 1 chain at the workbench. And the chain, which you use both for crafting the Sawmill and for crafting watches, as I mentioned, is made from iron or lead bars at an anvil. And you'll get 10 chains for 1 bar, as I recall. The loom over here on the left as well, upper level left, that is used for making silk mainly, and it can also make other items, particularly those derived from silk, such as robes, and that is crafted from 12 of any type of wood at the sawmill, so you'll need your sawmill to craft your loom, and occasionally you can find those in underground cabins as well. Now keg is used solely for crafting, quote-unquote crafting, ale. This is a keg here. And the keg itself, to craft ale, you actually only need a mug. That's why I say quote-unquote crafting ale. You just need a mug, which is made of glass at a furnace, and you just bring a mug to the keg and turn it into ale. Basically like filling a mug with ale, so quote-unquote crafting. But the keg can sometimes be found in underground cabins as well, or it can be crafted from 14 of any type of wood at the sawmill. Now, a demon or crimson altar is not something that you can make, it's only something that you can find, but a demon or crimson altar is used to craft several pre-hard mode boss summoning items for several of the pre-hard mode bosses. Of course, you can use it later in the game as well to craft the same things to summon the pre-hard mode bosses. This is a demon altar. Crimson altar is sort of similar, but with like eyeballs on it, and it's red. And they're also used, in addition to crafting boss summoning items, you also craft the Knight's Edge at the demon or crimson altar. These are found most commonly in the corruption or the crimson, and occasionally they can be found elsewhere in the underground, like this one. They cannot be moved, they cannot be crafted, they can only be destroyed once you are in hard mode. So basically these will be laying around, and they're just things you find and craft stuff at. And then later you can destroy them, but then you can't craft stuff at them anymore. But there's lots of them, so you know, you can destroy some, and you'll need to probably. But moving along, the Tinkerer's Workshop is the next one I'm going to talk about. The Tinkerer's Workshop is used to combine accessories into single accessories. So basically to reduce the number of things that you're carrying but retain their effects generally. And that is the one I kind of talked about early on. This one with the red top, and looks like it has some books. That's the Tinkerer's Workshop, and it is bought from the Goblin Tinkerer, who of course you get after defeating a goblin army and so on, but you just buy that from him, and you can use it to combine accessories to have fewer accessories in number, but similar or more in effect. So then another one that I'm going to talk about quickly is a sink. I actually didn't make a sink yet because I want to show you this, because I don't really have a place to put a sink anyway. The sink is used to craft items that would normally be made when you're near water, such as bottled water and mud, as I mentioned earlier. So the sink is actually crafted from a water bucket, which is a bucket filled with water. You'll need to make a bucket from 3 iron or lead bars, take it to water, and actually use it to effectively dip it in the water, fill it with water. So you get your water bucket, combine it with 6 wood or various other materials or blocks, because there are, much like workbenches and so on, there are many different types of sinks that all function the same, but look different. So I can actually make a mushroom sink because I have some mushrooms in my inventory. So water bucket and 6 glowing mushrooms. Or I can make a spooky sink with spooky wood, and you get the idea. But most types are crafted at the workbench. Some of them are crafted at specialized crafting stations, specialized for certain types of furniture. And let's just go straight on to hard mode crafting. So bookcase is the first one I'm going to talk about. Technically, you can get a bookcase in pre-hard mode. You can find them, you can craft them in pre-hard mode either way, but only once you're in hard mode generally. They're used to craft magic spells from hard mode only ingredients you can only obtain in hard mode. Again, they can be found or crafted in pre-hard mode. They are crafted from 10 books that you find in the dungeon. You'll basically need to collect a bunch of books by just like mining them off the shelves. You get 10 books from the dungeon and combine that with 20 wood or other materials, because again, you can make a ton of different styles of these. There are many types. Most of them are crafted at the sawmill if you're going to craft one. 2 of the types are crafted at the workbench, and others again at those specialized furniture crafting stations for certain types of furniture that I'll get to later as well. Now the crystal ball, this provides the clairvoyance buff by using your sort of your right click or your alternate button on that. So that's a magic buff, but that's not what we're here for. In terms of crafting, it does also craft certain items. On pre-update platforms, it's only used to craft confetti blocks and waterfall type blocks, lava fall blocks. And on updated platforms, it also crafts a whole bunch of other things. It's the crystal ball is actually where you craft the endless musket pouch, the endless quiver, a bunch more block types, and magic droppers that are only available on the updated platforms. Also, if you put your crystal ball near water or a sink, or near lava or honey, on the updated platforms, you can craft water candles if you bring this near water or a sink. And also, you'll have a few more options if it's near water, lava, or honey in terms of some other things it can craft as well. And the crystal ball is purchased from the wizard, who you normally only find in hard mode. Now, a Mythril or Orichalcum Anvil. The pink one is Orichalcum. You can get a green one, that's Mythril. It's an upgrade from your iron or lead anvil that you had in pre-hard mode, and it has many additional crafting recipes that can be made at the upgraded hard mode anvil. It's usually referred to as. It's a very important upgrade once you get into hard mode. It's crafted from either 10 Mythril bars or 12 Orichalcum bars at your original anvil. And similarly, an adamantite or titanium forge. This is an adamantite forge. It's red. Titanium is gray. Otherwise, they look the same. It's an upgrade from the furnace or the Hellforge that you had in pre-hard mode. And the hard mode forge, you might say, can smelt additional hard mode ores like adamantite, titanium, chlorophyte, and so on. And the adamantite or titanium forge can also make crystal blocks if you're on the updated platform, and it itself, the forge is crafted from 30 adamantite or titanium ore plus a Hellforge at your hard mode anvil. So you need to make that upgraded anvil, then get enough ore and find one of those Hellforges and put that all together, and you get your forge. Now the Blend-O-Matic, this is sort of technically like a building related one, but I'm going to include it here because of its use, what it's used for. It's used to craft asphalt blocks. Asphalt blocks allow you to run very fast. If you create a big long thing of asphalt blocks, you can run very fast on those asphalt blocks. And while that's very useful, very good for boss fights, the Blend-O-Matic, that's the only thing it does, makes asphalt blocks, and it is bought from the Steampunker. On the updated platforms, you can buy it at any time, whereas on the pre-update platforms, you can only buy it at night, but it does exist on all of them. Now the Autohammer, just over to the other side here, the Autohammer is only used for crafting shroomite bars, which are, for shroomite armor, the hoverboard, the digging claws, and so on. There's just a few things that you can make with shroomite bars, but it is a nice little thing to have, especially if you're a ranged player. But even if you're not, there's a few things that are going to come in handy. And the Autohammer is bought from the Truffle after you've defeated Plantera. Now the last one that I'm going to talk about that is used for general crafting is the Ancient Manipulator. And the Ancient Manipulator, this glowing thing here, only exists on the updated platforms. It is used to craft items from the end game Lunar Fragments and Luminite, which likewise only exist on the updated platforms. And it is dropped always, every time, by the Lunatic Cultist when you defeat him. Again, he also only exists on the updated platforms. So that's the last one for general crafting. And next up is building and furniture specific crafting stations in just a moment. Okay, so as I say, the remainder of these are building and furniture specific. Actually, interestingly, the only one of the rest of the ones that I'm going to talk about specific specialized building things that you can get on 3DS is this solidifier. The solidifier crafts furniture and blocks from gel and from slime blocks, which you make from gel at the solidifier. The pre-update platforms, this solidifier is actually bought from the Steampunker during the day. Since the update, it's actually dropped by King Slime every time you defeat him. And the rest of these, that's the only one of these building-specific ones that is available on 3DS. The rest of these that I'm going to talk about the rest of the video are not available on 3DS, but they are on all other platforms. So the Heavy Workbench. Heavy Workbench is this. Some people might have started the game, saw the option of build a heavy workbench and thought, oh, that sounds important. Actually, it's only used to craft statues as well as slab and plating type blocks. It's used for building stuff. However, since the 1.3.1 update, which is on PC and has now just been released to Xbox One and PS4 as well, the heavy workbench can also now craft additional statues as well as gem locks and trapped chests. So it has become a little bit more useful. The heavy workbench is crafted from 12 of any type of wood as well as 8 iron or lead bars at the anvil. Now the glass kiln here, that's what this is. The glass kiln is used to craft glass furniture. Specifically, it is crafted from 8 torches and 18 iron or lead bars at the anvil. On the updated platforms, it can also be used to craft any items that are normally crafted at a furnace. On the pre-update platforms, it only crafts the glass furniture. However, it can be used as a general purpose furnace as well on the updated platforms. However, it takes up a little more space, so there's that. Now the living loom. I had to rearrange some stuff, by the way, I had to go and grab some stuff from some other worlds and stuff quickly. The living loom I grabbed from one of my other worlds. I didn't have one in this world. It crafts living tree style furniture. The living loom is found in living wood chests, which are in those little areas underneath some of the giant trees. Some of the giant trees, the big giant ones, you'll see that sticking up and you'll see a path down below it, and usually there's a little opening there that can be used as a house with a little furniture and a chest, and that's where you find these, and they are used for crafting living tree style furniture from wood. And similar idea, actually, the ice machine, that's what this is. Had to borrow this from a different world. The ice machine crafts ice-themed furniture out of ice. It's found in ice chests in the underground snow biome. The sky mill, moving along with the same idea, is used for crafting skyware furniture from sun plate blocks. It also can be used to make rain and snow clouds, which will rain or drop snow. And the sky mill is found in skyware chests on floating islands. The honey dispenser here can be used for crafting furniture from honey blocks, with a honey theme obviously, and it is found in the ivy chests in the underground jungle. Now I'm going to have to move up here. The bone welder is used for crafting bone furniture from bones, and it's found in the dungeon. It can be found both inside chests, gold chests as well as other chests, and it can also be found just placed around in the dungeon. That one was here. Now, moving on to hard mode only building and furniture crafting stations. Those were all pre-hard mode available. but some of these are only available in hard mode. However, they are still not available on 3DS, just on all the other platforms. The meat grinder is the only one that I don't actually have here because this is not a Crimson World and I wasn't lucky enough to get it dropped. I don't remember getting it in any of my other worlds. If I did, I forgot about it. But the meat grinder only crafts flesh blocks from crimstone blocks, and again, normally found in Crimson Worlds only. This is a corruption world. The meat grinder is rarely dropped from herplings, crim slimes, floaty grosses, and crimson axes in the hard mode Crimson. Now the flesh cloning vat, this normally wouldn't be in this world. I ran over to a Crimson world to buy it. The flesh cloning vat crafts furniture from the flesh blocks that you make at the meat grinder. So you need both of them. You need the meat grinder first, and then you can use this flesh cloning vat to craft furniture from those flesh blocks made at the meat grinder. And the flesh cloning vat I was able to get because it's purchased from the steampunker in Crimson Worlds, so I just ran over to Crimson World and bought it from my steampunker there. Hard mode only, of course, normally. So that's the steampunk. That's the flesh cloning vat. Now there's actually, that's this one. Sorry, this is the flesh cloning vat. I got confused because I had to go and buy both of these from the steampunker. This is the flesh cloning vat that I was just talking about, used for crafting furniture from flesh blocks purchased from the steampunker in Crimson Worlds. This is the steampunk boiler, which is actually used for crafting steampunk furniture from cogs. You can tell I don't do a lot of building, right? This is used for crafting steampunk furniture from cogs that you also buy from the steampunker, and the steampunk boiler is likewise purchased from the steampunker. So you buy the cogs and you buy the boiler and you make your furniture. It requires actually that you've defeated the Eye of Cthulhu, Skeletron, and the Eater of Worlds or Brain of Cthulhu. So the first two and one of those last two. You actually have to defeat all of those pre-hard mode bosses in order for the steampunker to sell you this steampunk boiler, which is interesting because the steampunker is only in hard mode after you defeated one of the mechanical bosses, which are different, according to the wiki. Anyway, I was able to get it because I did all that. And the last one that I'm going to talk about is the Lizard Furnace. The Lizard Furnace is used for crafting Jungle Temple, aka lizard-themed furniture, and you will find the Lizard Furnace in lizard chests in the Jungle Temple. It does not, unlike the glass kiln, it does not currently work as a regular furnace. This is only for crafting Jungle Temple, aka lizard-themed furniture, and again, found in lizard chests in the Jungle Temple. And that is all. That is all of the crafting stations in Terraria. So I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And I'm not much of a builder, but I showed you the building stuff anyway. Bye for now.